What's up, guys? TK here, aka Tristan Kraus, and today I want to talk to you about the $1,000,000 question, and that is, should you get a credit card? Now, because I know that the average person isn't going to watch for much longer than a minute, I'm going to give you the short, simplified answer, which is yes, you should. Alright, now for those of you who want a little more explanation, I'm going to start off by asking you to click the like button and putting in a comment. The reason why I ask you to do that is because it'll help my content get out to more and more people, so that way more and more people can learn how to get their financial life on track, which is my ultimate goal here. Now, if you've already done that, thank you very much. Seriously, every single like counts, so I thank you for that. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, let's start talking about why you need to get a credit card ASAP. Alright, so let's start off by talking about the importance of credit. So the reason why you need to establish credit is because if you want to make large purchases like a house, a car, a boat, even just take a loan to start a business, you're going to need credit because the lenders are going to have no way to tell whether or not you are good to make your payments or you are not good to make your payments. Basically, your credit score is a modern day report card as to whether or not you can handle your money responsibly. Now, I'm sure that there are a lot of you out there that are just cringing your fists up right now, just wanting to yell at me and tell me,
But Tristan, I don't need a credit card to get credit. I can just take out a loan. I can build credit that way.
now because I'm not really in the business of lying, I'm going to admit that all those people are right. You do not need to get a credit card in order to build credit. But you can build credit for free and even make a bunch of money if you do build your credit through a credit card. Alright, now real quick, for those of you who have not heard of credit builder loans, here's a little piece that explains how they work. And basically, it's just like getting a secured credit card, but in loan form. Now, I personally wouldn't suggest these, but if you really do not want a credit card, well, this is better than nothing. If you use the credit card properly, which we will go over in the remainder of the video, you will avoid paying any type of interest. All you will have to do is pay off the purchases that you make, which you would have done anyways, and you can avoid the high rates of interest and start building your credit for free, and even earn rewards that may send you on a trip or give you a cash value. So for the rest of the video, we're just going to go over the ways to avoid paying interest and the ways to maximize your credit score and build it as fast as possible. Now, this is going to require a lot of patience actually. Your credit score is not just going to bump up to 800 overnight because you got a credit card. But if you follow these steps that I lay out within maybe, I don't know, at least 9 years, if you play them for sure, you will have an 800 credit score. So the first thing you're going to need to do is go out and get a credit card as soon as possible. So for me, I got my first credit card the day I turned 18, which may not seem like a huge feat, but for me, I knew I was setting myself up for a future of success. By the time I was 19, I was already able to take out a loan because I had established credit. Now, if you haven't started and you're already older than 18, don't start panicking, because your credit history only makes up 15% of your overall credit score. Now, it is important and you want to start building your credit history as soon as possible, but it's not a major factor. I bring it up first because your credit history is something that is just a matter of doing it right now, and that's what I really wanted this video to stress, was that you need to get a credit card now. And by the way, if you don't believe me, you can just check out Experian.com. Link is in the description. And it's also, I'm going to link that to the rest of the video and try to pull from their website to show you direct examples of what I'm talking about. So if you ever get confused, you can always go check out that website. Like I said, I put the link in the description, and you can use that to reference everything I'm saying and say, wow, that guy's an idiot. Alright, so here's a little snippet for your reference, pulled straight from their website. And pretty much it just sums up exactly what I just said. But it also adds the fact, and it's a very important fact, that your credit history length is actually just an average between your oldest and newest lines of credit.
So make sure that you keep those lines of credit open as you move forward to maximize your credit score.
Now, definitely the most important thing that's going to get you to that 800 FICO score is not length of credit history, but actually your credit payment history. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, basically, just don't ever make a late payment. Don't ever miss a payment, bottom line, and you will be good on this. And especially if you're new to credit, you need to ensure that you do not miss a payment, because that will affect you for a long time to come. Because the way that your credit payment history is calculated is they take your overall number of payments made on time and they divide that by your total number of payments, right? So let's say you've only had the credit card for a year and you already missed one payment. Well, now you've only had 11 payments on time, you're divided by 12. That's going to be a much lower percentage than if you missed one payment 8 years down the road. It's going to be a much smaller percentage of payments that you made late, if that makes sense.
Alright, again, here's another reference that I pulled straight from the Experian website. Also, I typed up an explanation as to how the math works with your payment history. So now you can see that it's actually really important not to miss a payment, especially early on. Of course, this will sort itself out given some time, but the general idea is just to never miss a payment in the first place.
And again, don't worry if you have missed a payment, because there are other ways to increase the overall number of payments that you needed to have made, and that is by one, starting today, so that way you incur more payments. But that brings us into our third thing that will help you get to an 800 FICO score, and that is opening up multiple lines of credit, otherwise known as your credit mix. Now, it's important to take note on this one that this does not just mean that you have a bunch of credit cards. This could mean that you have a mortgage, a car payment, any sort of loan that you have to pay off, given a certain time period, right, that you have to make payments for. But this can also mean multiple credit cards, right? So let's say that you have 18 credit cards. Well, if you miss one, that's only 1 in 18. If you miss one payment, that's 1 in 18 payments, right? So over a year or two, that miss percentage is greatly reduced from where it would be if you just had one credit card. So this is another way to mitigate that risk of missing a payment.
Alright, so here's the reference. Keep in mind also your credit mix is not a huge player in your overall credit score, only accounting for 10%. Of course, every little bit counts on your path to that 800 score, but I personally believe that the credit mix has much greater value if you look at the advantages that you get from it, such as the new sign-up bonus rewards and the number of payments you're going to get to make in order to mitigate the risk that comes from missing a payment.
Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to go out and order as many credit cards as you can, but what I'm saying is that it will help you, because 10% of your overall score is made up by your credit mix, right? So if you do need a car, maybe taking a loan out on it might actually be a good option for your credit mix. Not necessarily for interest, or if you can just pay it off, but for your credit mix it will be beneficial, and for your credit payment history and length of credit. All those things will be improved by you taking out a loan or a credit card. So if you do this, it will benefit you, but until you learn how to manage your money properly, I would not suggest opening up too many accounts. I would only suggest that if you can easily manage your one credit card, maybe a loan already, then maybe start opening up multiple accounts, and as you get comfortable with multiple accounts, then you can keep the ball rolling and keep opening up more lines of credit and eventually get to that 800 FICO score.
Alright guys, so as I said, the credit mix helps out many areas that affect your overall credit score, and another major area that it's going to help is your credit utilization. So credit utilization accounts for 30% of your overall score and is second in importance only to your payment history. And basically what this does is it shows how much credit you have available. If your credit limit is $1,000 and you used $100 worth of credit, you have 10% credit utilization. So if you want to get to an 800 credit score, you cannot go above 30% utilization. So what this means is if your credit limit is $1,000, you cannot spend more than $300 on your credit, right? So to ensure you remain below that number, you could do this in a few ways. So you could have multiple credit cards, multiple loans, or you could increase your overall credit limit.
One more little thing that I want to touch on real quick as to why it's important to get your credit card now is if you do need to raise that credit limit, usually what I've seen is that it takes about 6 months before you can request a limit raise, right? So if you do that, if you get your card now, let's say you're 18, you'll probably be getting a secured card, but you probably won't be able to raise your credit limit until 6 months later. So you'll be 18 and a half, and then by 19, you'll be able to raise it again, and so forth, etc., etc. And this is important because the more money you make, the more money you spend, and the higher you're going to need your credit utilization to be, so that way it doesn't reflect poorly on you in the short term. Now, this is something that's super easily fixed just by making a payment, but maybe you're going to get a loan on Friday and you just racked up a big bill on Monday and you forgot to pay it off. They pull a hard inquiry, and well, now you're in kind of a bad situation. So this is just something to pay attention to and really raise your limits so that way you don't have to worry about this one. Now, I'm sure this is the part where everyone's thinking to themselves, well, how come everyone doesn't just rush out and get 100 credit cards? Well, it does bring some downsides, right? So, some credit cards will pull hard inquiries when you try to open them, and these do negatively impact your credit score. Now, they affect you about the same as your credit length history, right? So, it's not a huge deal, but it will stop you from getting that 800 credit score in the short term.
Like I said, guys, this isn't a major player in deciding your credit score. It only accounts for 10% overall. But of course, every point does count, so you're going to want to get this out of the way ASAP to ensure that you have an 800 credit score in the future when you're older and actually need it.
On a side note, this also isn't that big of a deal because usually these hard inquiries only reflect on your credit score for about a year, and they are completely removed from your credit score in 2 years, meaning that they'll never show up on paper ever again. No one will even know that they happened. Also, don't be afraid if you do them all at once. Your credit people, the credit gods, are wise enough to take all of your hard inquiries and bunch them into a group. So if you go to get an auto loan and you go to 8 different places and they all pull hard inquiries, I'm not saying that 8 is the limit or 9 is the limit. I don't know the exact limit, but within a reasonable amount of time, they should be able to say, okay, these were all from this person trying to get a car. Group them together and just label them as one hard inquiry. You're not going to have 8 hard inquiries and all of a sudden your credit drops to like 300. However, I do also want to stress the fact that if you plan on getting a loan for anything important soon, you should avoid this, because if you are about to get a loan, these hard inquiries will affect your credit score, and you want to get the lowest interest rates possible. So make sure that if you're planning on getting maybe say like a mortgage or an auto loan or a business loan, whatever type of loan you're getting, if it's going to be something significant, you should avoid pulling credit cards for about a year before that, in all honesty, to avoid from having any hard inquiries. Now, you can get credit cards that do not pull hard inquiries, and I would highly recommend that, but avoid anything that does pull a hard inquiry. And if you do enough research, I'm sure that it will tell you somewhere in the fine print or maybe in the non-fine print whether or not it's going to pull a hard inquiry. Alright guys, so the bottom line is if you go out, open up a credit card now, make sure you never miss a payment, open up multiple lines of credit, stay on top of it, be patient, and always ask for your credit limit to be raised. Eventually down the road, you will have an 800 FICO score. Now, exactly how long this will take, I don't know. I'm 21 now, and I'm pretty much coming up on an 800 score, but it's usually the last 10 to 15 points that take the longest. But I'm just slowly chipping away, and honestly, it's something that less than 20% of the overall population have. So even if you make it there in your 30s or 40s, you've already reached a feat that 80% of the people will never even accomplish. So it's something that can be said about your character, your patience, your determination, and it's something that you should be trying to do, because essentially, in a business standpoint, you're either an A student, B student, C student, D student, or you're failing. And for me, I want to be top of the class. So I hope that you are striving for the same thing. I'm assuming that you are, because you're watching my video. Again, please give me a like. Go ahead and comment any questions that you have. Feel free to suggest any sort of videos that you might want to see from me. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all those things to help my channel grow. And I just want to say thank you for watching, and have a fantastic day.